Avru Elu. So we're speaking like this. It hadn't rained by a certain time. So first it says the Yechidim fast. So who are the Yechidim? It says Talmidei Chachamim fast. They fast Monday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday. What's the fast? It's a day fast, not to eat or drink. Then it says, and if it continues, then even ordinary people fast. 3 fasts, Monday, Thursday, Monday, okay? Let's say still it hadn't rained. So that's what we say. Avru Elu v'lo nenu. Those days passed and Hashem still didn't respond with rain. Bezdin Goshen Gimel Tanis Achiris al Tzibur. Bezdin decrees 3 fasts on the Tzibur. Ochlim B'Shosim Bod Yom. But this fast is a more serious fast. It's considered, it's a 24-hour fast. Ochlin V'Shosim Bod Yom. They can only eat when it's still day. V'Asurim B'Melocha. And the next day, on the fast, they're not permitted to work. So what is this? This is what? Like Yom Kippur. Wait. They close down the bathhouses. Right? So what's not permitted? You're not permitted to work. The 5 areas of deprivation, and they close the bathhouses. What about if these 3 pass and nothing happens? Bezdin goes on Leim Ocheva. So now they decree another 7 fasts. So far, the masses, how many fasts have they fasted? 6. The first 3 were just day fasts, not to eat or drink. The second, as we say, it's all areas of deprivation, 24-hour fast. Not to work, bathhouses closed. The last 7, what they decree, okay, another 7. Shein Yud Gimel Tainios, Alatziba. So altogether, it's 13 fasts, okay? Means 13 sets of fasts. The last 7, in what way are they more extensive than the first? Firstly, they blow the they blow the shofar. They close down the stores, meaning the store is not open to buy food. But towards evening, they break the fast at night, right? Monday night. So what would they do? They'd open the stores slightly. It wasn't like open for business. Slightly open. But on Thursday, they still would be open because people have to shop for Shabbos, so that they wouldn't eat. What happens even all 13 have passed, it still hadn't rained. Okay? They have to do less business. You don't conduct business as usual. No new structures. No plantings. Be'ersum nesuin, one doesn't get married. When you meet your fellow in the street, you don't acknowledge him, like on Tisha B'Av. As people who are cast aside. How does he explain the word nezufin? Censured, okay. But the Talmidei Chachamim, they fast again. Until Nisan passes. Yotze Nisan v'yordu. Let's say finally, Gesham, let's say Nisan, it's already holding in Iyar. It rains in Iyar. Simichlol, that's a sign of a curse. It's already out of season. The rain is not coming in its time. It's a time we're supposed to be harvesting, and yet it's raining. So therefore, it's a disaster. Okay, so it's a sign of a curse. So Mer says like this. So it says when the 3 that the Bezdin goes around at Tzibor, it says they're not permitted, all the areas of deprivation, they're not permitted in Melacha, working. So Mer says like this. All the areas of deprivation, what are we denying people? Pleasure. For instance, what's pleasure? Rechitza, washing, sicha, anointing, tashamita, cohabitation. Avam locha. Excuse me. Sorrow, working is pain, right? Omer Rav Chisda, Omer Rav Yirmi Barabba, Omer Kro. There's a posuk. The posuk says, one second. The posuk. There's a posuk in Yoel. It says, Kichu Tzom. You should sanctify it as a fast day. Kiru Atzoro. You should declare it to withhold. Isvu Zakenim. Kol Yoshu, gather the elders, all the inhabitants of the land, Beis Hashem, Elokechem, V'zakwa Hashem, you should cry out to Hashem. Okay? So what is it? Kichu tzom, kiru atzoro, isu zakenim. Katzeres. What does it mean? Kiru atzoro, isu zakenim. That you should declare it similar to Atzeres. What's Atzeres? Atzeres is what? Shavuos or Shmini Atzeres. It's a day that you're not permitted to work. It's Yom Tov. Ma Atzeres also b'mlocha, basis mlocha. Av Taanis also basis mlocha. So we see that on the Taanis, also, because it says in the Pasuk, Kichu Tzom, you should sanctify the day as a day of fasting. Ima Atzeres mu'urta, somewhere asks a question. The Gemara says, and just as Atzeres, when does Yom Tov start? At nighttime. Aftanis nami urta, so when it's a 24-hour fast, it's at nighttime. Omer Reb Zera, so Reb Zera says, Lidin firstly minei Rabbi Yirmiyah Barabba, it was explained to me in the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah Barabba, Omar Kro Isu Zakenim, Dum Yadasiv Zakenim. When it says, when do you gather the elders for any issue? It's during the daytime, because at night the people are at their homes. So the gathering of the elders is during the daytime period. Masif Zakenim Biyom, Avtzom Nami Biyom. It's the day, it's a day fast. It's a day fast. Okay? 1 second. The Eamon B'tiro, the Gemara says maybe it should be after midday. It should be later. How do we know it's in the morning? When do you gather people? You gather people, the gathering, they gather together in the morning. How do they invest the day? When they gather during the daytime, what do they do when they gather? From morning until midday, they do an introspection. They try to figure out what exactly the community, where's the community failed? Is there thievery? Is dishonesty? That's what they do. They do an analysis on the people, on the community's behavior. That they do from what? From morning until midday. From then on, Rivid Yoma. So now you have another half a day to go, right? So they divide it in two halves. Rivid Yoma, the first quarter of the day after midday. Karina B'Sifra Vaftarta. You read Vayichal. That's the Kriya on the fast day. Vayichal, and the Haftorah. Mikan Ve'elech, and then the last quarter of the day before nightfall, Binin Rachmi. Then they stop being Mispal. Hashem should have Rachmim. Shenema ve'yakumu. No, not again. No, in the morning they were doing introspection in the morning. They were whatever it's Rachmi, whatever Rachmi is. Shenema ve'yakumu al omdom. They stood in their play. V'yikru b'sefer Torah Hashem Elokeim. Revius hayom, revius mizvadim, u'mishtachim Hashem Elokeim. And the last quarter, what do? Mizvadim, they confess. U'mishtachim Hashem Elokeim, that's tefillah. So Mara asks, Eipachano, why do we do the other way? In the morning, they should have Vayichal and Haftorah, and then you have the Vidui, and then afterwards you do the introspection in the afternoon. Why do you first do the introspection in the morning? He says it's not logical to say why. Says you should gather the one who's fearful of the word of Hashem because of the failings of the Gola. So what's the failings? So that means to figure out what the failings are. Usiv, ukaminchas erev kamti mitanesi, the efraso kapi el Hashem. So when do you have the tefillah? It says, and towards evening, I rise from my fast and I spread out my hands to pray to Hashem. So you see, tefillah is what? Is before nightfall. Omer Rav Rafam, Omer Rav Papa, Rav Chizda, Koshu Mishum Evil. You have this? Let's say the fast is because of it's morning. It's a morning fast. Like you're grieving over something. What's a grieving fast? Go Tisha B'Av, right? V'ovel. Also bein bechamin, bein bitzonon. On Tisha B'Av, you're not permitted to wash yourself not with hot water, not even with cold water, right? That's the halacha. Hot water, cold water, not permitted. And the same thing is true. V'ovel also. And same thing a mourner. Person's doing shiva. The shiva you're also not. Kol rishumi tainug. But what about if the fast is we want to deprive you of pleasure, like a regular other fasts, like the fast we're talking about over here? Go tanis tzibur, like a tanis tzibur, which we discussed earlier. Also, it's to deprive the people, right? B'chamin oser. So what? Chamin, hot water, is pleasurable. Tzonon, it's not pleasurable, but it's an accommodation. Mutter, that you're allowed. So if it's Tisha B'Av or Avelus, there's no difference, cold water, hot water. But if it's if it's a regular Tanis Sibur, hot water, not cold water, yes. Okay? This is where Rav Chisda says, Omer Avidi Bar Oven Afanami Tinina, he wants to support him. He says, I have a mission to support what you're saying. That if it's a fast, which is, we want to deprive you tainug, pleasure, what kind of washing, bathing are you not permitted to do? Bathe in hot water. But cold water, even your whole body, you're permitted. V'noali, why it says in our Mishnah, that when they decree the more extensive fast, it says, V'nolin esamar chotzos, they close down the bathhouses. Right? So what does it mean? What's the meaning of closing bathhouse? Bathhouse, hot water. Right? Omele Abaye, v'betzonen osur, sochenes nors biboilek. Lemisti, he says, what's the proof? He said, what should it say? They close down the springs. A natural spring is cold. What else should it say? You mean, because it doesn't say they close down the springs, that means closing down the bathhouse means hot water, not cold water. He says, what? There's no proof. There's no proof. So he says, Omer Rav Shisha B'Rei Ravidi, Barabba Hochi Kashle. This is the proof. If, let's say, the Mishnah would want to tell me that all type of washing is forbidden, right? And there's no difference hot water, cold water, what should it say? It should say, one doesn't wash. What do you have to add, and you close down the bathhouse? If you're not permitted to wash, and washing means cold and hot, you don't have to tell me you don't have to close down the bathhouse. And you close down the bathhouse. So why does he go out to point out you close down the bathhouse? To point out that when we meant to say you don't wash, it means washing of where the water's hot. But if it's cold water, you want to bathe in cold water, that you're permitted on a regular fast day. Okay? Omer Rav Shisha B'Rei Ravidi Hochi Kashalei. Mechti Tanan already says in the Mishnah, Osa B'Rechitzo, you're not permitted to wash. So no less Mechotzo Slomis, what does that have to add? And you close them the bathhouses. El Lalav Shmamin, so what's the Mishnah coming to tell us? Chamin hu da'osur. What type of washing you're not permitted? That's only hot water. But sonamut, if you want to bathe in cold water, you're permitted to bathe in cold water. Okay? Le Misayalei. Let's bring a proof to Rav Chisda that when we say that if it's mishum tainug, that if it's only for we want to deny you pleasure, you're permitted to bathe in cold water. It says in the Mishnah, Kol chayvei tfilos toven kedarkon. If a person's obligated to go to the mikveh, okay? Chayvei tfilos, you immerse yourself as you normally would. Bein b'Tisha B'Av, bein b'Yom Kippurim. Whether it's Tisha B'Av or Yom Kippur, although you're not permitted to bathe on Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av, but if it's a tfilas mitzvah, you're permitted. Today, this has no relevance to us. Because today, you have many rabbinical stringencies. It's not called a tefillah bizmano. When a woman goes to the mikveh today, it's really beyond, it's not the day that she's supposed, it's beyond the day. Because we have many rabbinical laws, so really, it's delayed. The tefillah is really delayed. B'mai. So it says over here in the Mishnah that all chayvei tefillos, people who have an obligation to be tovel, the tovel as they normally would on Tisha B'Av and on Yom Kippur. What kind of water are we speaking about? B'mai. Ilei b'bechamin. If it would tell me that you're bathing in hot water, right? Tefillah b'cham mi'iko, shuvim ninu. How do you have hot water in the old days? The only way you could have hot water, you'd have to heat it in a vessel, pour it into the mikveh. If that's the case, the water's not valid. If you have a chiv tefillah shuvim, drawn water that was put in a vessel, it doesn't qualify for mikveh. El lav, so what does it mean? B'tzonon. So it says what? And what does it say over here? Because it's tefillas mitzvah, that's why they can. But someone else, which is not a tefillas mitzvah, b'chayv tefillas in ishachrin alo, right? That not. But it says which days? Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. On Tisha B'Av Kippur, you cannot bathe in what? In cold water. But on other days, which is not Tisha B'Av or Yom Kippur, you can. Omer Rav Chana bar Ketina, you hear what's going on. It says that a person who has an obligation to go to the mikveh can go bathe to immerse themselves normally on Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur. Now, what kind of water? Cold water, hot water. That's where the rule, though, because in those days, a woman who was in Nida, she went to the mikveh on the 8th night. She didn't go to, didn't wake out. Right. Even Yom Kippur, because it's a mitzvah to do it then. Okay? So he says, Omer Avchona Barketina, Lo Nitzcha El Lechami Tveri. No, there's no proof. When it says over there that you bathe on Tisha B'Av, where it's chivit, speaking, he's bathing in hot water. But we ask the question, how do you bathe in hot water in the mikveh? It's shuvim. It's speaking about he's bathing in hot springs of Tveria. It's hot springs. But normally, on Tisha B'Av and on Yom Kippur, you're permitted to bathe, even if not a mitzvah, you're permitted to bathe in cold water. Chisdet said when it says that normally it's a tiny sibur, you're permitted to bathe in cold water, not hot water. On Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, even cold water not. So Mar wants to bring a proof from here, because it says chayvi tfilos, right, could immerse themselves. Now, what do they immerse in? What kind of water? Cold water. How? Cold water. So you see, but an ordinary person cannot. So that supports Rav Chisda, that on Tisha B'Av, on Yom Kippur, even cold water, you're not permitted to immerse yourself. Right? That was the proof. The only person is permitted to immerse himself in the mikveh, which is cold water, on Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur, is the one who has an obligation, mitzvah, to be tovel. But an ordinary person just wants to bathe in cold water, he's not permitted. Right? So Mer says, no, there's no proof. I'll tell you when it says the chayvit tfilos can bathe themselves, it's even hot water. Where do you have hot water, which is a valid mikveh? It's because the person is being tovel in Chami Tveria, in the hot springs of Tveria. So we're not speaking about cold water. But cold water on Tisha B'Av Yom Kippur, and whatever can be tovel, can immerse themselves in cold water. So Mar says, he says, if we're talking about Chami Tveria, in this Mishnah, when it says that a person who has an obligation to go to the mikveh is permitted, even in hot water, they're permitted, let's see the conclusion of the Mishnah. Omer Rav Chanina Skana Kohanim. Rav Chanina Skana Kohanim. Kedayu Beisel Kenu La'abed Olav Tfila Pa'machas B'Shana. Yeah? He says, Rav Chanina Skana Kohanim says, even though you have a chiv to be tovel, it's worthwhile to mourn the destruction of the temple and skip the tefillah. Don't do it. V'yam b'tzorah muter. But if you're telling me that you're permitted to immerse yourself in cold, yichatz b'tzorah, what do you have to skip it? You don't have to skip it. You could immerse yourself in cold water. So evidently, cold water is understood it's not permitted. The only reason why you want to permit cold water is because of the mitzvah. On that, Rav Chanina Skana Kohanim says, you know something? Even though Me'ikar Adin, really you're permitted, but you know something? The right thing is to skip it. Not to bathe, but see, clearly it's cold water. Because if, factually, you could always be tovel in cold water, so don't be tovel in Chami Tveria. Don't go to the hot springs. Be tovel in cold water. Omer Rav Popo. This is no proof. Rav Chanina Skana Kohanim speaking Basur L'Shchiach Tzonan. It's being that you're in a community, there's no cold mikvahs around. The only thing you're stuck in Tveria, the only water available to be tovel are the hot springs of Tveria. Therefore, he said, you know something, pass on it. Because there is no cold water to be tovel. Toshma, so there's no proof yet. So Rav Chisda says like this, Tisha B'Av, Yom Kippur, you're not permitted to be tovel, to immerse yourself, to bathe, not in cold water, hot water, neither. Other fasts, you're permitted to bathe in cold water. So that's Rav Chisda. Toshma, so we're trying to bring proof to Rav Chisda. When we say, it says in the Mishnah when they decreed the additional fasts, right? The additional fasts, the additional 3 before the 7, it says you're not permitted to do melacha. When aren't you permitted to do melacha? We say eating and drinking, the fast starts at night. Anointing yourself, cohabitation starts at night. And it says you're not permitted to work. When aren't you permitted? Is it nighttime or during the daytime? Right? How do you know? That's what he says. Toshma, it says, when it says in the Mishnah that when they increase the level of prohibition, you're not permitted to work. But at nighttime, right, eating and drinking, it starts at night. Everything else starts at night. But working, you're permitted to work at night. Yeah. What about wearing shoes? When are you not permitted to wear shoes? That's if you're in the community. Avol b'derech, let's say a person has to travel out of the city. They don't expect you to walk barefoot out of the city. Mutter, you're permitted to wear shoes. Okay, tzad. Yotzi l'derech, noel. When you're going on the trip, on Tisha B'Av, on the Taanis Tzibur, you put on shoes. Nichnas lir, you come back into the community. Choletz, you take your shoes off. Uchshamru, We're quoting over here a brisa. Shomer also brachitza, when it says you're not permitted to wash, lo omru ela kol gufa. What are you not permitted to wash? Your whole bathe means bathing the whole body. The whole body. Aval pon of yodav rak, if you want to wash your face, your hands, your feet, mutter. V'chen atamotze bimnuda. Ubavel. The same thing is true regarding a person who was excommunicated, which he has to conduct himself like an ovel, and the same halacha is by ovel. When we say what are you not permitted to wash, that's to bathe your whole body. But your hands, face, and feet, that you're permitted. My love, akulu. One second. Seemingly, it's going back on everything. Ubemai beis, ubemai. Yeah. Ubemai ilem abachamin, ibachamin, ilem pon of yod rag misharu. When it says you're not permitted to, when it says over you're not permitted to bathe, but your hands, face, and feet you're permitted to do. What are we speaking about? Is it speaking about with hot water? Mar says, "Vomer av sheisef ovel also with hoshit hetzbo b'chamin." It can't be chamin, hot water, because of that. It's not only the whole body. You're not even permitted to wash your hot finger with hot water. An ovel. Elalav v'tzonon. So evidently, when we differentiate between the whole body and part of the body, we're speaking about cold water. So this proves that what? 1 second. That cold water is not permitted even on a Tanis Sibur. This is not like Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda wanted to say a Tanis Sibur, you're permitted to wash what? Your whole body with cold water. The only thing that's not permitted is hot water. Here it says clearly, because it says your hands, face, and feet are permitted, and it can't be hot water, because if he's an ovel, he's not permitted to use hot water, right? So when we're speaking about cold water, it's low. Lolam b'chamin. We're speaking about hot water. Yeah? Udkashloch, but you can ask me a question. It says even by the menuda and the ovel, it says their hands, feet, and they're permitted. And we said they're not permitted. An ovel's not permitted to wash his hands with hot water. So Mar says hashorakoi, meaning when we're equating what it says, and also the excommunicated person and the ovel, that's only regarding shoes, right, and malocha. But in terms of washing, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a Tanis Sibur. Right, a Tanis Sibur, you're permitted to wash. You're permitted to wash. You're not permitted to wash your body with hot water. Hot water. But you want to wash your hands, face, and feet with hot water, you're permitted. An ovel is not even permitted even with cold, even with hot water. Even hand, face, and feet. Seemingly, what we quote here, it would be a refutation of Rav Chisda. Rav Chisda says, on a regular Tanis Sibur, you're permitted to bathe in cold water, right? On a regular fast day. We're not talking about Yom Kippur or Tisha B'Av. Somebody says, but over here we're equating, we're saying, we list, it says, on a Tanis Sibur, you're not permitted to whatever it says in the Mishnah, and it's the same thing applies to a person who's excommunicated in Ovel. Correct? But they're permitted to wash their hands, face, and feet. So if we're saying what you're not permitted to do on the fast day, bathing, the whole body means hot water, but hands, face, and feet are permitted. How could it say that that an ovel is permitted to wash his hands with hot water? He's not. On that, the Gemara says no. On the Tanis Sibur, you're permitted to bathe in cold water. When it says in the Mishnah, bathing, the whole body is hot water. You want to wash your hands, face, and feet with hot water, you're permitted on a Tanis Sibur. So what are we equating? The ovel or the excommunicated person, that's regarding wearing shoes and working. Regarding to that we're equating one to another. But washing, there's a difference. Tanis Sibur, hot water, not. The whole body, cold water, yes. Hands, face, and feet, hot water, yes. And ovel, only cold water for hands, face, and feet. Toshma. Omar Rav Abba HaKohen, Mishum Rabbi Yossi HaKohen. Rav Abba the Kohen said the name of Rabbi Yossi the Kohen. Masu Mesabonav Shel Rabbi Yossi Ber Chanina. There was a story. Rabbi Yossi Ber Chanina, he had 2 children who died. 2 of his sons died. V'rochatz b'tzona kol shiva. And what? And he bathed in cold water. We have a problem. Rav Chisda just says that what? That an ovel is not permitted to bathe even in cold water, his whole body. Right? And here it says, that we're quoting a brisa, that Rios Chanina says, that he bathed during the 7-day period in cold water, right? That's his whole body. And the Akmar says, and they were speaking about, what happened? It was a tragedy. His 2 sons died 1 week apart. So because it was like multiple tragedies, so that's why that's the exception. Under normal circumstances, Novel's not even permitted to bathe his whole body in cold water. But because over there were consecutive tragedies, that's the reason why he was permitted. The Tanyas, we find, Takfu Avelov, Zechazeh, person has one Avelus after another Avelus. The person, let's say a person didn't shave for 28 days, Shloshim. And before the Shloshim's over, all of a sudden he's hit, God forbid, with another tragedy. So that means it's extended. So the halach is, and it's Hichbet Sarah, his hair is untenable. He has too much hair. He can't function. Mekel Batar. Normally when you cut your hair, you cut with a scissor. Here we say, even though we're going to allow the person to lighten his hair, but he has to do it not the way he normally does it. He'll use a razor rather than a scissor. And we allow him to wash his clothing. A novel during Shloshim is not permitted. When it says betar, it means specifically the razor and not a scissor. When it says in the Brisa, we allow him to wash his clothing with water, without detergent. You cannot put detergent in the water. Omer Ravo. Okay, so therefore, there's no proof. We're still, according to Rav Chisda said an ovel is not permitted to immerse himself, even in cold water, his whole body. Omer Ravo. Ovel mutar lirchotz b'tzon kol shiva. Yeah? Rava argues with Rav Chisda. He says an ovel is permitted to wash his whole body, to bathe in cold water, even during the Shiva period. The whole body, cold water. Why? What's the reason why not? An onain is not permitted to eat meat and wine. That's before the burial. After burial, during the Shiva period, if the ovel wants to have wine and meat, he's permitted. So it says, why is bathing cold water worse than having meat and wine? If we permit one, we should permit the other. So he says, hot water is like that's real pleasure. You bathe in hot water, you're relieved. But he says, bathing cold water, the pleasure is no more than the pleasure of eating wine and drinking wine and eating meat. It's not the ultimate level, but it's pleasurable. But we see Chazal allowed of it to have pleasure. They were allowed to eat meat and wine. So why should cold water be any different, right, than allowing to eat wine and eating meat and having wine? Okay? So we have now, according to Rav Chisda, an ovel is not permitted to bathe his whole body in cold water, correct? Yeah. Rava says he is permitted. He is permitted. Meisvei. Someone asks, Eina bogeres rasho linavelas atzmo b'mei evil. Ovio. It says a woman's a bogeres, she's more than 12 years old, that she says she's already a kalamadel, right? People she's looking to get married. So we say bogeres is not permitted to put herself in an unkempt state, even during the Shiva for her father. Yeah? Her naro, but if she's a naro, if she's less than 12 and a half, right? Rasho. So when we speak on nivel, we don't want her to be an unkempt. So in what sense? Doesn't mean we don't allow her to bathe. We allow her to bathe. My love, berchitza. So evidently we allow her to bathe. We're saying if she's a boger, we allow her to bathe. Ubimai. Now what is she bathing in? Is she bathing in hot water or cold water? What we're saying, right? That we're saying a fully mature girl who has relevance to shidduchim, to marriage, we don't want her to be in an unkempt state, right? So it says. So what are we speaking? It seemingly means in bathing. We allow her to bathe. Well, no, we want to know what kind of water. Yeah. Maybe bathing is cold. Ubimai. In bogeres rashoi. Are we speaking about hot water? We allow the fully mature woman to bathe even hot water. An ovel is not permitted to put his finger in hot water. So there's no way we're going to allow a bogeres to bathe in hot water. Ella bitzonon. So we see clearly, we allow it to bathe in cold water. But an ordinary ovel, we don't allow. So you see, it's not like Rava. This proves Rav Chisda. Rava says in Ovel, we allow an Ovel to bathe in cold water. And here it says only who? Who do we allow? Only the Bogeris. So this refutes Rava. This proves Rav Chisda, right? That an Ovel is not permitted to bathe even in cold water. So Mar says, no proof. What it says, we don't want to be in a kemp state. We're not speaking of bathing. We're speaking about cosmetics. Making up a hair and putting on cosmetics. If she's a girl who's a fully mature girl where men are looking to marry and she wants to get married, we don't want to put her in a state where she looks unattractive. So we allow her to put on cosmetics even during the Shiva period and to make her hair properly. She should be look kempt. Okay? But bathing in cold water, she's definitely permitted. Right? That's Rava. She's permitted. Lay Messiah late. Let's bring a proof to this. That we're speaking over here when we say we don't want the fully mature girl to be unkempt. It means regarding cosmetics and beautification. We're not speaking about bathing. Bathing, Rava says, everybody, every oval is permitted to bathe in cold water. Every oval is permitted. And here that we differentiate between the fully mature woman, girl, and the girl who is not fully mature, that's only regarding cosmetics and making up one's hair. Proof to it. There was a story of Yossi B'Chanino. Two of his sons died. So we see clearly. So it says he bathed during the Shiva period. Wait. He rochatz. So what do we see clearly? So you see he's permitted. Amri, no. So that would prove who? That's a proof to Rava. How did Rabbi Yosef Chanina, how did he bathe? During the Shiva period, evidently see clearly you're permitted to bathe, a person is permitted to bathe in cold water. So that proves Rava, right? Rava says bathing in cold water is no different than eating meat and wine and having wine. Or says, no, there's no proof from there. So this would refute Rav Chisda. Amri Hosa b'shetokvu Avelos zechazeh. That was an unusual situation. Because he lost, the Avelos was consecutive, that's why. But under normal circumstances, we will not allow an Avil to bathe even in cold water. Right? This would be, he wanted to bring this as a proof to Rava. Mar says, no proof. And it would be a refutation on Rav Chisda. Yeah. No proof. The Tanya, as we learned in the Bryce, quotes the same Brysa. Tokfu Avelov zechazeh. A person who has consecutive Avelos, right? He has one Avelos after another. Hich bitzaro, if his hair became unattainable, he had to make betar. He's able to lighten the load of hair with a razor. Umachabis kusa b'mayim, and he's able to wash his garment with water. Omer Rav Chisda betar, we allow him to lighten load. He has to use a razor, which is not the normal way you cut the hair. Avlo b'misparayim, but not with a scissor. B'mayim, we allow him to wash his garment. In this case, v'lo b'neslo b'chol, v'lo b'oil, but not to put detergent into the water, right? It's to make it easier. Okay? So according to the version we had until now, Norman, according to Rav Chisda, an ovel is not permitted to bathe, not in hot water or cold water. Rava argues, Rava says no, in hot water not, cold water yes. Why? Because bathing in cold water is no less than allowing the ovel to eat meat and wine. Finished. This is the first version of Rava.
So the wine and the meat is...
Nobody argues that. Everybody agrees. An ovel is permitted to have wine and meat. Nobody argues that. So Rava is saying, if nobody argues that, so why is bathing in cold water more pleasurable than that?
Okay, good.
Right? That's Rava's basis for his position. Okay? Ikadan, we have another version. Another version of what Rava says. The first version is Rava is very lenient. Bathing in cold water for an ovel is fully permitted. Igadiami. Omar Rava. Ovel osur b'tzara kol shiva. Here? So now he's assuming Rav Chisda's position, according to this new version. Right? Rava is concurring with Rav Chisda. An ovel, he's not permitted to bathe not in hot water, but even in cold water. You got it? No, hands, face, and feet, yes. But his full body, this bathing the whole body. Somewhere asks a question, Maishno mi boser of yayin? So, I mean, factually, the pleasure you have from cold water, even when you bathe, it's no more than meat and wine. So why do we allow the oval meat and wine, right? If we want to deny him that level of pleasure, on that Gemara says, "Hosam lefachude pachte hu de'ovid." Yeah, what does that mean? It means an ovel is slightly like depressed, right? He had a tragedy, an ovel. He's sitting shiva. When a person has meat and wine, it puts him in a better state of mind. It's an emotional state. Bathing in cold water has nothing to do with his emotional state. That's pleasure. So the meat we allow because it has that extra effect that it actually it lifts the spirit. But in terms of bathing in cold water, even that degree of pleasure we don't want him to have. And since it doesn't have that effect of meat and wine, therefore we don't allow it. Right? See, the Gemara should have asked this question on the first side of the page. I mean, Rava says, according to the first version, Rava said ovel is permitted to bathe in cold water, his whole body. And he says, why? He says, because the pleasure is no more than wine and meat, and which we allow the ovel. So Marsha says, so why does Rav Chisda? How does Rav Chisda differentiate between wine and meat? The Gemara could have said this on the first side of the page, right? Because Rav Chisda says, full immersion in cold water is not permitted. So Marsha says, you Rav Chisda, how could you say it's not permitted, but ovel is permitted to eat meat and wine? The answer is because the Gemara was waiting to say this, and Rava didn't say it on the first side of the page. Let's bring a proof that you're not permitted to bathe, an ovel is not permitted to bathe in cold water. Eina bogeres rashoy lenavalatzmo. We say a woman who's more than 12 and a half, which she's already holding by marriage, she's not permitted to put herself in a disheveled state. Honairo rasho, but a girl who's a naro, she's an adult, but she's less than 12 and a half. She's memai. Ilaim bechamin. Always speaking, hot water. What do you mean a bogeres is not permitted? Nobody argues that. An ovel is not permitted to wash his hands with chamin, with hot water. His whole body. Elav, what are we talking? Bitzonon. We're speaking about with what? With cold water. We allow the bogeres to bathe in cold water, but not the regular woman. So that would be a proof. This is a proof to Rava. And says, no proof. According to this verse, this would be a proof to Rava. Right? The verse says no proof. That we're speaking is not bathing. Bathing, I'll tell you, maybe you're permitted to bathe in cold water, any of it. That would differentiate between the girl who's fully mature and only a nara, that's speaking regarding beautification, cosmetics. Rav Chisda. So Rav Chisda says now, Zosamer, so what are we able to extrapolate from all this? We said that if a person has multiple avelos, God forbid, he's permitted to wash his clothing with water, with no detergent. So it says, so Rav Chisda Zosamer, Ovelos, B'tachboses, Kol Shiva, that during the 7-day period, he's not permitted in tachboses. I mean, just as you're not permitted to beautify yourself, you're not permitted to what? To wash the clothing either. So what's the halacha? Listen to this. Norman, what's the halacha? Ovel, osur, lichos, kol gufo, bein bechame, bein betzonon. An ovel is not permitted to bathe his full body, not hot water, not cold water, kol shiva. Aval pon of the other raglov, but washing your hands, face, and feet, bechamin osur. Hot water, even that's not permitted. But sonin mutter. Aval losuch. What about to anoint himself? Anointing? I feel kosher also. Even a small degree of anointing. Even part of the body, you're not permitted. Vim lavis azuma. What about for the sake of cleanliness? Let's see, the only way a person has to use a bar of soap or some type of oil to remove uncleanliness from the body. Mutter, because that's not for pleasurable reasons. All this is there's some degree of pleasure.
So how do they make the differentiation between laundering the clothes and washing his body with soap? You said you can't use soap to wash his clothes, but here we said
No, there's different. No, there's a difference. Your body is dirty or your clothing is dirty. There's a big difference.
Right.
Body washing clothing has nothing to do with it. That's because it's demonstrating avelus. You don't have to have the cleanest clothing during this period. But a person's body is not clean, that's already in a person. That's not pleasure. That's being pain. Being unclean, that's pain.
So by going in the water, we're not talking cleanliness.
Right.
So I use it.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And the different degrees of cleanliness, you know.
Medicinal. Okay. And just technically to go back, when you have an exception, you can't extrapolate anything from the exception, right? That's just by itself, or I can.
Like what?
With the manual to those two sons, that's an exception.
Those are the two. He is the exception. Nobody else. Nobody else is
You
permitted.
can't extrapolate anything from that other than this.
No, that's the case. Only that's the exception.
Only.
Okay, now look. Now the question is, we discussed earlier, if you have a fast, you say Anenu and Shmon Esrei, correct? Anenu. So when we say our private Shmon Esrei, where do we say Anenu? In Shema Kolenu. But the Shlich Tzibur, he adds a bracha. He adds a bracha. Now where do you put that bracha? That's Gemara's question. Tzlusa de Tanisa, the Shmon Esrei of a Taanis. Hechemat Karinon. Where exactly do you insert that bracha of Anenu? Right? Where is it mentioned? You have it? You okay? Adberei Rav Yehuda, Rav Yitzchok, Bereg. He instructed his son, V'dorash. Yochet Shkibel of Taanis. An individual who accepts upon himself to fast. An individual. Mispalo Shel Taanis. He says, Anenu. Ve'echa Omro. Where does he insert it? Bengal the Rofeg. We'll see in a moment. He's speaking even as an individual. You insert it between Goel and Rofeg. Brocha b'fnei atzmo. Right? Even though he's saying it as a, not as a Chazor Sashatz. Even as an individual, he says, right? He says a brocha. Maskul Rav Yitzchok. This is what Rav Yehuda said to his son Rav Yitzchok. Okay? Maskul Rav Yitzchok, Yochid kavei brocha la'atzmo. When you pray individually, you don't say a brocha. Elam Rav Yitzchok b'shemei tefillah. You insert Anenu and Shemei tefillah like we say it. You don't say a bracha. The bracha concludes bracha to Hashem Shemei tefillah. And you have an insertion, Anenu Hashem b'yom tzara. Anenu Hashem b'yom tanisenu. Cheinom Rav Sheishes b'shemei tefillah. An individual prays, you don't add a bracha. The only time you add a bracha is only when for Chazor Sashatz. Right? When davening with a minion. Meisvei, we learned in the Braiso, Ein ben yochad letzibur. The only difference between an individual and a tzibur fasting, el shezem ispal shmon esrei, v'zem ispal chasrei. Meaning, individual prays 18 brachos, and the other one 19 brachos. My love, my yochad utzibur, ilem yochad mamish utzibur shlich tzibur. Does it mean the individual? That means the shlich tzibur. Hani chasrei, eshin v'arbahavu. We had earlier, when you have a real tiny tzibur, you have 24 brachos, which the Mishnah later will discuss. You add other brachos. Elulav hochi kamer. Ein ben yochid the kibul of tainis. Yochid. The yochid kibul of tainis tzibur. The difference between a person who accepts himself not fast, meaning only not eating and drinking. A person accepts upon himself a fast which all areas of deprivation are denied him. So from here we see that even an individual, if you accept upon yourself the more extensive fast, which has greater elements of deprivation, even the private person says the additional bracha, lo. Versus no, not incorrect. It's only when you add a bracha, only when you have chazor sashatz. Or the kashlach shli tzibur esrim haber matzli. You said, but the shli tzibur says 24 brachas. No. Begimel Taanis Rishonos the leko. Esrim varba. We said the first 3 fasts that are decreed by the Bezdin is what? Those fasts, this is before you start doing tkiyah, true tkiyah. This is before you close the stores. This is only when you don't work and you close the bathhouse. Then it's a regular Shmon Esrei, and you only add 1 bracha between Goel and Rofeg. Aiva be'ein bein katoni. Ein bein gimel rishonis l'gimel emtzos el l'shid be'elu mutar basis melocha be'elu asur basis melocha holach of dalid, but seems to be zev is a shovin. It says the Mishnah differentiates work and what But it seems to be for everything else they're the same. No, Gemara says Tana v'Shayir. The Tana omits certain things. He's not saying all the differences between. My Shadai Shayir. She says what? Oh, Ein Bein Ketoni El Toni Bisuri Kamari Betfilas Kamari. He's speaking about Isurim. He's not speaking about how many brachos do you say. V'Ibos Eimo B'Emtzius Nami Lo Matzchav Dalid. We will stop here.